the worst tactic, the worst tactics, the worst covert tactic, the worst covert tactics, the worst overt tactic, the worst overt tactics, the worst indirect tactic, the worst indirect tactics, the worst direct tactic, the worst direct tactics, the worst slow-paced tactic, the worst slow-paced tactics, the worst fast-paced tactic, the worst fast-paced tactics, the worst soft tactic, the worst soft tactics, the worst firm tactic, the worst firm tactics, the worst hard tactic, the worst hard tactics, the worst beginning tactic, the worst beginning tactics, the worst middling tactic, the worst middling tactics, the worst ending tactic, the worst ending tactics, the worst basic tactic, the worst basic tactics, the worst intermediate tactic, the worst intermediate tactics, the worst advanced tactic, the worst advanced tactics, the worst private tactic, the worst private tactics, the worst public tactic, the worst public tactics, the worst silent tactic, the worst silent tactics, the worst written tactic, the worst written tactics, the worst photo tactic, the worst photo tactics, the worst audio tactic, the worst audio tactics, the worst video tactic, the worst video tactics, the worst past tactic, the worst past tactics, the worst present tactic, the worst present tactics, the worst future tactic, the worst future tactics,